What is going on, everybody? Hope you lot are well. Today we are back again, another Switch 2 video. This time we are focusing on how to specifically move your saves and Pokemon saves in particular, how to transfer them over from your Switch 1 to your Switch 2, how to do it, safely because the Pokemon saves are like not supported by cloud backup, and for less Pokemon fans that have been collecting all our shinies and live indexes for a long time, that's like the most important thing on our Switch ones, right? So I thought I'd do a video to explain because there's a couple of pitfalls that you should be aware of. So the first thing we'll discuss is I'll go for a video of what you do on each system in a second. First, let's discuss like the options you have and what you should know before you go in. Okay, so first of all, when you get your Switch 2, you have to make the choice of have you just got one user on your Switch, or have you got multiple users on your Switch, and do you want to transfer all of those users over to your Switch 2? Because when you do a certain process, it copies everything over to the Switch 2 and moves all your Pokemon saves. There are saves in particular that cannot be like held in both locations, so they cannot stay on your Switch and your Switch 2. Some saves can get copied, so they could be in both locations. Some saves have to get moved, particularly like your Pokemon saves, saves where Nintendo doesn't want you like cloning your saves. So yeah, if you're a single user on your Switch, then it's an easy choice, right? You only have one profile, all the profiles are yours. Multiple saves, multiple profiles. Or Pokemon, for example, and you just want to transfer them all over to your Switch 2. Simple choice, right? It gets a bit more complex for if you've got multiple users on your Switch 1 and some of them you want to keep on your Switch 1. Like, let's say you got kids and you want to like move your profile over to your Switch 2, but you want to, donate your Switch 1 to your kids, and all their saves and everything is still on the Switch 1. So, there's a transfer process that moves a lot of stuff over, like Pokemon saves. So you might not want to do that. So, think about that before you go in. If you're just one user and you just want to transfer everything over, it's simple. If there's multiple users on your Switch 1 and you don't want to transfer them over, their saves over and their profiles over to Switch 2 because you want them to continue to use the Switch 1, then there's different options. Okay, now let's get into some of the advice Nintendo gives on their site, because there was a lot of confusion around this and people weren't sure what's going on. And I've seen some reports, even one of the things Nintendo reports themselves on their site doesn't work. So I've seen a couple of Reddit posts about this, that they lost their Pokemon save. That's why, even though I can't confirm this 100% myself because I'm not going to test it, there's one option that I would advise that you don't do. So the way you can transfer your saves over from your Switch to your Switch 2, first of all, is when you boot up your Switch 2, you do the initial sign up setup, and it's going to say, oh, have your Switch 1 close and do a transfer. That's what I'll show you, demonstrate that in a second. The second option you have is, rather than directly transferring your saves and your profiles from your Switch 1 to your Switch 2 when they're in close proximity to each other, there's an option for where you can upload all of your Switch save profiles data to Nintendo servers for free for the cloud, and then they hold them for like a year or something. And then as soon as you get your Switch 2, rather than doing a transfer, there's an option to say, oh, download it from the cloud. Now, this is the option where there seems to be some confusion around, because Nintendo says, oh, the Animal Crossing saves, even though they don't support cloud backups, and the Pokemon saves, they would still store, they will still get moved over to the cloud and you can still download them. That's what they said about Animal Crossing. They haven't said that specifically about Pokemon. And I've seen reports, people say that it doesn't work for Pokemon. So this is the option that I would say avoid, because Nintendo said, oh, people might want to, hand off their Switch 1s to family member or sell them before they get their Switch 2. So they gave you an option when they did the latest system update on the Switch 1. They said, oh, you can store everything for your profile wise to the cloud, and then as soon as you get your Switch 2, you could download it. But that's the option I would say avoid, because there seems to be some confusion and we're not 100% sure if it works for Pokemon saves. That's why we're all here, right? The other options are, you basically make a fresh profile on your Switch 2 when you get it, and then you manually transfer over each save. The problem with that is it can take a while, and it can get a little bit messy because I've heard some stuff that, oh, when you do it that way, like if you've got like the whole virtual game card system, which we probably won't talk too much about in this video, that can get kind of confusing because it doesn't tie the cards correctly to each console, so that can get a bit of a mess. And obviously, if these weren't Pokemon saves, another option you would have is you could just manually upload your saves to the cloud if you've got the online subscription service, and then you can download them wherever you want on whatever console you want. But Pokemon saves you can't back up to the cloud. So there's about 4 options. One of them we're not going to. 2 of them we can't use. The cloud one we can't use, and the one that Nintendo says it will save everything to the cloud, there seems to be some question mark over that. So that also we can't use. And then that last 2 options is, remember when I said you boot up your Switch 2 and you can just transfer everything over? The caveat with that is, it's also something Nintendo doesn't tell you. You can only do that on a factory resetted console. So as soon as you boot up your Switch 2, it's going to give you this option once. If you skip it, the only way you can get this option back up is if you factory reset your console again. So this is something you have to decide as soon as because you don't want to be playing your Switch 2, got loads of saves on there, and you're like, oh no, this is too much hassle. I want to do that thing where it transfers all my profiles and everything. This is something you have to consider beforehand. If you've got multiple users, like, I think that's the best way. That's the way I did it, is like, do it at the start, boot up and move everything over. But if you want to, because I'm a one user, right? And I just want to start playing everything on Switch 2. But if you want to give your Switch 1 with their saves and everything to another family member because they've been playing on your Switch 1, that's where it gets a bit more convoluted. Because how you would go about it that way in the optimal scenario is, you would create profiles on your Switch after you complete the initial setup. You would create those profiles again on your Switch 2, sign into your Nintendo accounts, and then manually transfer everything you want to transfer over. But again, it gets messy, it gets convoluted, but that way you can assure that, the certain saves will stay on your Switch 1. 2 more bits of confusion. Again, there's been a lot of confusion around this. A lot of people were thinking that, when you do this, it will wipe your Switch 1 and move everything over to your Switch 2. It only wipes your Switch 1 with all profiles and all saves if you do the cloud version, which I'll explain when we show the video. If you do it like the manual moving over, like when both consoles are in proximity to each other, then it won't wipe any data on your Switch 1. The only thing it will wipe is certain saves that cannot be held in 2 locations, like your Pokemon saves. It will move them over, it won't copy them over. And the last thing you should be aware of is, when you do the system transfer, you can make accounts on your Nintendo Switch 1, but each account has to be tied to a Nintendo account. So you could just make an account that is not tied to an eShop account, and it's just it's got no email attached to it, right? If you do the system transfer over and accounts haven't got a Nintendo account's email addresses attached to them, those accounts will be moved over. They won't stay on the original console. So let's say if you've got 4 or 5 accounts, you've made a couple for your kids, whatever, make sure each account has a Nintendo account tied to it. You can go into the settings and go into the user settings and see if each account has an email address tied to it. Because if it hasn't, that you got no option. When you do the system transfer, that will get forcefully moved over. It won't get copied in both locations, right? So we're covering both bases just in case you got other saves, because your Pokemon saves will get moved over regardless. But if you've got other saves that you want to keep on your Switch 1. Another quick thing I want to quickly talk about here, like I said, this entire video is filled with caveat. So even though, there's some reports about, don't do the cloud system backup, it might not work for Pokemon saves. There is a few reports where people are losing their Pokemon saves when doing system transfers, or just all of their saves corrupting when they're doing system transfers. And again, this is a video mainly focused on Pokemon saves and how important those are to us. So here is like a IGN post of somebody claiming that they lost 1,000 hours of Pokemon save, and like all the other saves were fine when they did the system transfer, but they said they lost their Scarlet Violet save. Something's weird with this post though, because IGN points back to a Reddit post, and that person has now deleted their Reddit post. So people are like, wait, why did you delete it? What's going on? Was it user error or did something else happen? Did they have a corrupted save file? Did they have corrupted Pokemon or dodgy console or something? And that's why it happened. So it's kind of suspicious that they deleted the post. But there are other posts saying the same thing, that they did the transfer, and when after the transfer completes, it deletes all your Pokemon saves from your original console, because you can't have clones of Pokemon saves. And they said the same thing, that they're when they booted up to the Switch 2, their Pokemon saves were nowhere to be found. Again, the reason I state this is just so you're fully aware. To be honest, I just did the system transfer day one because I didn't know any of this. And I'm not trying to fearmonger or anything here. If I would have known this, I probably would have put my super rare valuable Pokemon into Pokemon Home. But I didn't do this, and I just went and did the system transfer, and it worked. So, but if you want to be extra cautious, that is another option you do have, especially for your Pokemon saves. You transfer them into Pokemon Home, and then obviously when you do the system transfer and everything, if something were to go wrong, those Pokemon would be in Pokemon Home, and then you can import them into your saves on the Switch 2. I would say the main important thing is just make sure both consoles are updated on the latest system firmware updates, and if you've got any gen mons or anything weird going on with your saves, should we just put it like that? Just be careful, I guess, because it's a shame. Nintendo doesn't let us back up our Pokemon saves to the cloud. So for extreme scenarios like this, where something does happen like this, where the system transfer does corrupt saves, you are just totally stuck. So mine went totally fine. Other people who did this totally fine for Pokemon as well. But again, if you just want to be extra cautious, I would advise putting your rare valuable Pokemon into Pokemon Home. The only problem with that is the free version of Pokemon Home only allows you to store 30 per profile. You would have to do the paid upgrade to store as many as you want. Anyway, let's continue. Let me show you how to do the system transfer. Not trying to put a damper on, scaring everybody to do it. I would just say I did it and it went absolutely fine. Other big Pokemon content creators, they all did it. They all went absolutely fine. Majority of people are not reporting this. So who knows what happened with these one or two users, but it's something you should be aware of. Oh, all right. So yeah, like there's a loads of caveats at the beginning. A lot of people have done like short couple of minute videos, and I was like, oh wait, if you're really worried about your Pokemon stuff, there's quite a few caveats that you should be aware of. So this intro is going on for a little while. Anyway, now that we've gone over all the caveats and I've showed some video off of all the other ways you can do transfers, like do manual transfers and not system transfers, let's get into the main thing. And like the most easiest way to do it is the system transfer. So once you first get your Nintendo Switch 2 and you boot it up, you'll come to the main setup where pick your language, pick your region, then accept the user license agreement, set up all your internet. I skipped over that because I don't want to show it. And then this is the screen where I was talking about before, system transfer. Don't forget, you have to do this the first time, like I was explaining before. If you don't do it the first time, this option won't come up again, and you're gonna have to factory reset your console for this option to come up again. Secondly, make sure you sign into your main Nintendo account profile. So on your Switch 1, you have your main profile, which is signed in all where all your virtual game cards are and everything. Make sure you sign in with that one here, because if you don't do that, then when you load all your virtual game cards onto your Switch 2, the Switch 2 would just get confused, and it just be a long, arduous process of manually reassigning all your virtual game cards. So when you sign in here, make sure you sign in with your main Nintendo account, and you have to sign in, otherwise it won't let you do the system transfer. So if you've forgotten your passwords or anything like that, because I've seen some issues with people online with that, where they set up two-factor authentication or they forgot their passwords, make sure you remember your email addresses. If you forgot your passwords, set all that beforehand before you do this, because you don't want to get system errors and network errors here, because you forgot your passwords and stuff. Remember I was talking about some people was having save data corruption when they was doing transfers. That was a theory that could have been one of the reasons. So after you sign in here, again, I'm going to skip that because I don't want to show that. Then you would move over, you set this up, you get to this screen, and then you would move over to your Switch 1. You would go into your settings, go all the way onto system, make sure your system is updated to the latest version, and then you would scroll down all the way to the bottom here where it says system transfer. This is a new option that was added with a couple of firmwares ago, and then you would follow these on-screen instructions here to do the transfer. I spoke about early on where I was saying if you select I don't have a Nintendo Switch 2 console, I showed a video of it lets you update it to the cloud. The reason we wouldn't want to do that again is we're not sure if that cloud update supports Pokemon saves. And remember I was speaking earlier on about there was some confusion about people was worried that all your data, obviously your Pokemon data will get wiped off your original console, moved on to the new one, but whether your other saves would get wiped off. If you do the cloud backup version, regardless if you've got users tied to everything, it will delete all your data off of the original console. It gives you a warning when you go through that. It does say, if you do the cloud backup, we will delete everything off your original Switch. So that's two reasons I would say don't do the cloud one. Make sure you have the Switch 2 there in front of you just to be safe, and so you can keep a copy of everything on your OG Switch other than your Pokemon saves. When you do go through this process, it does warn you right here, like it says, these are the saves that will be transferred, they won't be copied. And when I go through, there's a couple of demos, but most of them, what you can see is my Pokemon saves. It's saying that these will be moved over, so it does give you a warning first, that you could scroll through and have a look. And then once you get to this stage, it will, because we already did the setup on the Switch 2, it will then find your Switch. Couple of things it warned you here is, make sure your consoles are in proximity to each other. They both got to be connected to the AC chargers. It won't let you do it if they're not. Switch 2 especially, it will say no, plug into a power charger before we let you transfer. So make sure you have that all ready beforehand. If we just move over to so then here, sorry, there'll be another button on the Switch 2 where it just says press OK. I didn't capture that right here, but it says OK, and then once you move back over to the Switch 1, it will say sending data. This does take a while depending on how much saves and data you have. If we just quickly move over to the Switch 2 screen, this is what it will show on the Switch 2. I've cut this down to shorten it up, so you don't have to see the whole process. And then once the system transfer is complete, you click OK here, and then you'll get to the intro screen, and then it will just load everything over and take you through a tutorial of how to use your Switch and everything. And then if you go back to your Switch 1, sorry, my screen timed out here. That's why it's a little bit darker here, but you just press OK, and then everything will be fine on your Switch 1. All your profiles will still be there, and all the saves other than your Pokemon saves that can be copied in both locations will still all be here, as long as you don't do the cloud backup. If I just quickly jump in here to my Pokemon Scarlet save, I won't show everything off just to show that it worked and all my saves are here. Look at all my rare Pokemon. I haven't got everything here as well because I stopped playing this for a while because of all the issues it was having with performance. We're probably going to continue our live index for all the DLC now as well, so if you're interested, but come check us out over on Twitch. Yeah, there you have it. That was everything. Sorry, apologies, this has gone for video's gone for a while. I've seen loads of short videos about people doing clips and everything about this is how you do your transfer and saves. But for us Pokemon fans who are worried about our Pokemon saves, there is quite a few caveats that we do have to be worried about. So it's something you should know, and some things you have to decide beforehand, what you're going to do with your Switch 1, if you're going to continue using it, who you're going to give it to. And so just make sure you prepare properly beforehand. Don't forget, we got a lot of Switch 2 videos up on the channel. We're streaming a lot of our first looks over on Twitch, putting shorter videos out on YouTube. We've got a couple of backward compatibility videos coming up, and we've already had a few reviews go up of a few of the launch lineup. So if you are interested, follow and subscribe depending on what platforms you're watching on. Turn those notification bells on so you can keep updated all the latest Switch 2 coverage. Other than that, I think I'm going to call it this one. Thanks for tuning in. Much love. Peace.